Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Your Delusional podcast hosted by myself, LaTerra Wair. Hi, guys! Let me tell you, the heat has been oppressing me. I look like what I've been through, and I'm tired. Yeah, that's how I've been. I started class this week. I started class last week. That was kind of a mess and a half because I'm working a retail job right now. If you know, you know. And because of that, the scheduling and all this other kind of stuff don't be aligning sometimes with the other stuff I really have to do. So it's been a little stressful to say the least. But yes, I am here. I'm having a very great day aside from the sun that's trying to kill me outside. But I hope you guys are having a good day. If you guys don't know me, hi, my name is LaTerra Wair. I'm a digital media creator based in the DFW. And one of the things I do is the podcast here. So that's a little bit about me. How have you guys' weeks been? I feel like we haven't talked, we haven't chatted. Y'all, there's so much going on in the ether of the world and it's a little bit crazy. And one of those things going on is that I literally came here prepped, prepared, ready. And I said, I'm going to get on this pod mic today and I'm really going to do my stuff because I have a lot to chat with them about, or the topic that I actually want to chat with y'all about today. I'm interested in all my topics, but some I just be a little bit more hype about. You know what I'm saying? Why my iPad dead as a doorknob? And I said, okay, but it's okay. Also, y'all, look at this phone case. For the audio listeners, hi. If you don't know, this is an audio and a video podcast. So if you were listening to this on our various audio platforms, please go and watch the episode on YouTube. But anyway, listeners, is a black phone case I got from the thrift store associated with my job. And it's just so flat and so cute. And it was literally $1. I have a really common thing that I talk to you guys about, especially as this podcast and this era of my life is kind of becoming about being dedicated to the person and to the life that I want to have. I think that this is something that's like really come to the forefront of my life, not because it's what I chose to come to the forefront, but because there's a lot of people who ask me like how I planned this out, how I did this and whatever, because I do have a level of success. Goals that I set, I'm able to obtain them in like a moderately quick time to some. And that's kind of what I wanted to talk about. For me, I've had this conversation several times about plan A versus plan B. If you don't know what I'm talking about, a quick little recap is basically just when you have a plan A in life. Let's say your plan A is to be a movie star. Someone who's a movie star, you may be doing acting classes, doing vocal lessons, doing dance lessons, all this stuff, because that is contributing to your plan A. But plan B could be, what if you become a singer? What if you become like a dancer in the background of a show or whatever? It's not the exact thing that you wanted to do, but it could be that your goal in general is to be in entertainment. The overall objective may be the same, but it's just the minor details in the in-between that change. I wanted to talk about today why plan B is worth it. Something that also sparked this is I've heard a lot of kind of debate just across the internet and across people I've talked to about how if you have a plan B, that's not necessarily always the best because it distracts you and it takes away from your plan A. And that's also something that I've talked about on the podcast quite often, I believe. I do not believe that. I am someone who actually has always had a plan A, B, C, D, E, like someone who's very driven. I refuse to fail. So it kind of doesn't make sense in my brain to not have a backup plan in case the plan I have doesn't work. Like, I also feel like that's just a little like too sure of yourself. And it's great to think like, I'm going to make this work. I'm also someone like that thinks I will do whatever I can possible to make this work for myself. But sometimes there are other things that stand in the way of being what's possible. You get what I'm saying? Because of that, I've always thought that it is very okay to have a plan B. It's actually very smart to have a plan B. When I've kind of talked about my life goals and everything like that, a lot of people think that I don't have a backup plan, but it's not that. It's just both of my plans kind of lean within the same bracket. In saying that, I just wanted to talk to you guys about what I mean. For instance, when I say your plan A could be similar to your plan B, my plan A has always been to be in some sort of media, my overall goal is to be in some sort of media. Media is the thing that fuels me. I really love digital media specifically, but I love anything news, press, print, graphic making, videography, cinematography, and that such, right? So my plan A would be to own a digital media production company. I am in the midst of owning a bigger digital media production company, but that is a part of my plan A. But in order to have a successful media company, I have to build on that, build clientele, all this other stuff. A part of my plan to get there was that I went to school, I got certain certifications, I worked with different people, took on a bunch of different jobs until my plan A, which is the digital media company, really took off to what I wanted it to be. So in the meantime, now I do have a job and a 9-to-5 in the thing that I did want to pursue, which is media. If my digital media production company idea was to be something that didn't go through because whatever, right? It's not something I think is gonna happen, but if that, let's say that was what was going to happen, whatever, I still feel safe in knowing that the job that I'm in is still aligned with my overall goal in life, as well as I get to do stuff like this. I get to make content. I get to be a media individual. And this is always going to be something that comes to the forefront of my mind. That's kind of what I mean about your plan A can be similar to your plan B. And that's how I've always reflected that in my life. Because I've done that, it is a lot. It's kind of like me building myself a safety net, and it's me finding a little bit of safety in knowing like, oh, I'm not wasting my life. So I feel like in my last job, I was feeling a little lost and a little sad because it did feel like it was a waste because it wasn't adding to my plan A or my plan B. That was more so adding to like a plan Z that I had, and that's perfectly fine if all else failed. Having a plan B is a very realistic expectation, and I think that most people should have a plan B because plan A is never guaranteed to work. Like, it's good if it works, and you should definitely like work hard for that. But realistically, there's nothing wrong with having a backup plan. I think that if you're someone who kind of uses your plan B as an excuse and leans on the fact that there is a plan B and that's why you're not succeeding in plan A, you have a different problem, and you should be accountable in that area or that facet of your life, because I don't think that you just having a backup plan should ever take away from your overall goal. And if it is, maybe that is something you need to address. I feel like my previous job was something that was taking away from my overall goal and what I did want to do as far as like time wise and time management wise, and me growing my skills and developing skills that I wanted to have. And so I did have to readjust, and I had to be like, hey, what do you care about? What aligns you? You need to find something that will allow you to do your plan A. And something else to talk about also is a lot of people, I feel like, get really ashamed of having a plan B. And realistically, you should not be ashamed to have a plan B. If anyone is making you feel shameful or whatever, at the end of the day, it's your life, it's your future. And if that person's not going to be there to pick you up on the ground when everything else fails because you put all your eggs in one basket, why are you listening to them? And that's just how I personally feel about it. You can listen to who you want to listen to, all that kind of stuff. But I think we as a people put too much into this one goal that we had, and it just doesn't pan through. Sometimes things just don't work out, and that is literally okay. Everything is not meant to work out. Everyone will not always be 1,000% happy. All you can do is literally push forward and try to make the best out of the situations that you have, and make sure that you are making the best choices in those situations. If your plan A does not work, this is me telling you, because I know there's someone out there who may feel like they just did all this stuff and then they just hit rock bottom because everything failed that they thought was going to work. Sometimes you can't plan everything out. There will be bumps in the road. There will be bad things that happen, but you know how people say a bad day isn't a bad life. Like, if this doesn't work out, if you put everything into it, I understand that may be hard. I definitely understand that may be hard, that may be hurtful, but you can move on. You can grow again. It's okay. And start working on a plan B. Start working on a plan C if you didn't have a plan B before, you know. Ensure that you have longevity in your life. You always want to make sure that you can keep going, and that if all else fails, you're not just going to end up somewhere at like the whim of whoever, because that's a really bad place to be. Girl to girl, girl to person on the screen or on the earpiece, that is a really bad place to be. And you don't just want to end up at the whim of somebody else. Always make sure that you do have a backup plan. The thing is too, is I feel like we as people always we have this mentality about like, you know, the grass is always greener. And yeah, the grass is greener on someone's side who just got everything they wanted, right? But like, life is really what you make it. Opportunities are really what you make them. And the grass is always greener where you water it. That is so, so important. Like if you pour into a situation, if you pour into something with all of your work ethic, even though it may not give you exactly to the T what you want, it may be the right thing for you, right? It may be the perfect opportunity, and you have to see like, this is what I'm working with. And that's okay. It's okay that it's not like someone else's. It's okay that it's not someone else's plan A might not look like your plan A. Someone else's plan B might not look like your plan B. And that's perfectly fine. Everyone's plans and situations and aspirations and goals in life should not all look the same. Everybody should not all want to do the same thing, because there's literally no diversity in that. There's no fun in that. There's like no difference in that. And I don't think that's the people that like we want to be. And maybe this is me being in my little hippie mind or whatever, but like, no, just know that like the grass is always greener where you water it. And it's okay if the plan isn't what you believe the plan to be. But plan B is very important. Even if you don't have it super formulated out, even if you don't have all the steps written out, it's still super important. Kind of like I was saying before, I truly do think the downfall to so many people's plans and so many people's ideas about a lot of stuff right now is kind of societal pressures, or just societal like expectations of what something should be. And realistically, society's not living your life. I don't know who need to hear that, but society is not living your life. You are the only person living your life. You are the only person who's going to be there to live in that body if that plan A fails, if that plan B fails, if the plan C fails. But you got to keep getting up. You got to keep going, keep doing it over again until you get it right, until it works. There's too many just too many lucky, successful people in the world for someone who has a good work ethic to just have nothing. Let me say this. I'm not saying this like someone who's just being dealt the worst cards in life genuinely, but I am saying from people that I have personally met or people who I've experienced within life, not 100% of people who are in bad situations or bad circumstances are there because of someone else's action. It is usually at least one bad action, one bad choice that has led to a slew of other issues. And that's not a horse I'm finna get on right now. I will say that it is always okay to have a plan B. I am someone who actively has a plan B. I am someone who just works under the umbrella that having a general and overall base goal for your life is so, so, so important. But sometimes it's best to not get tied down in the details. You know how old people love to be like the devil in the details, and sometimes that's real. Sometimes the devil do be in the details. Do y'all think that having a backup plan is... Y'all think it's bad? Let me say something else about backup plans. They're not really important, but this is kind of what this makes me think of. I think that for so long, society really tried to push this narrative that prenuptial agreements are super, super bad, right? But if you really look at a prenup, I personally feel like it is a very legal, protective, fair way to do things. There are so many things that you can put in a prenup. It is very customizable, and it is literally determined to the rules that you and that other person make. If someone is to break or violate those rules, whatever happens, happens, right? And so if you do that, that's not saying that you're getting this because you don't love this other person or because you think you and this other person won't be together. It's just saying that sometimes you don't know what's going to happen, and that's just the reality of protecting yourself in the most calm, civil way possible. You know what I'm saying? Like it's literally you signing and just saying you're gonna follow the rules. It's really crazy when I listen to people say that because you're doing this ultimately means that you're planning for failure in something. And I'm like, no, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And I kind of feel like that same way towards this. I feel like just because you have multiple life plans doesn't mean that you're not dedicated to your main priority, your main goal. It just means sometimes you think about other stuff. Sometimes you think, hey, if this doesn't work, hey, if I get bored of this, hey, if my fucking mind changes, I can change my mind, you know? And I feel like that's all that is. Let me know what you guys think about that. Are you guys like type A people with the one life plan, one goal? Or are you a type B person with the, I got a couple of plans? Are you a type C person with the, I just never thought about it? Let me know in the comments. I would love to know. Moving into our You're Delusional topic of the episode. The You're Delusional topic actually is something kind of interesting because I have experienced it in a way, but not to this extent. But I did think that it would be very interesting to come out and share with y'all. This is coming from something I saw someone say online. They said, have you ever thought when you're driving to your 9 to 5, there is an 18-year-old content creator that is buying their first property? Here's the thing. I personally don't think that I have ever really thought about that. And when I tell y'all that, I don't mean that I'm someone who's like not ambitious. I'm a very, as Lotto say, a get money girl. Also, at the same time, I think comparison is the thief of joy. I really do. I feel like it's perfectly okay to be inspired by somebody. I think that it's perfectly okay to look around and to see things and to be like, wow, that's super cool. And I want things like that. But I think that when you say things like that, it's kind of just very like, you dive into a slippery slope. Like, you have the people who are saying it just to be like, I'm not working hard enough. And I think that's where I feel like if I was to ever hear someone say something like that, or if someone is telling a story where that's the situation in the story, I would always look at myself and be like, damn, I'm not working hard enough, right? But then you also have other people who are, this is not funny, they're like real dead ass. And this is very envy coded, I guess, sometimes when I hear it. And I personally think like you should just do what's right for you. Like, if you want to go buy a house, work hard, go buy a house. Like, that 18-year-old isn't just buying a house because they didn't work hard in most cases, right? These kids like worked hard, they invested, they learned, and they did whatever. And so I think it's a little wild to be envious or jealous in any kind of way. As I've gotten older, obviously people don't like say it as much, but when I was at a younger age, I feel like there would be a lot of people who would kind of have this mentality towards me sometimes, and I would be someone who never really understood that, because I've never been mad at someone for having good work ethic. And I think it's just that on that. That's not me trying to like pop my shit or whatever, but I think I know too many hardworking people to ever think that it's okay for someone to get mad at them for working hard, because 9 times out of 10, it's not always a choice. Like, sometimes you really got to work hard because you got to get it. Like, sometimes that's why you're sitting here busting your ass. And I think it's real crazy for people to get mad at that. Like, both of my siblings actually are really come to mind when I think about this. Like, they are both two hard working men. Like, and I just be like, y'all are really grinding. Like, y'all are grinding in y'all's own aspects, but y'all are very much like, I need to get to it. And I think that's very honorable. And it would, I guess, kind of give me a real big ick to see someone hating on that, or to see someone like, oh, this is whatever, because nothing earned should be talked about, I feel like that, because you earned that. But that's my take on that. How do y'all feel about this comment? I'm actually very, very interested, and I would love to talk about that in the comments, how you guys feel about this comment, because I don't really see it both ways, I guess. I think that it's kind of immature sometimes to see it the other way, if you're not like, you know, the way if you're not being funny, you're just being dead ass. Like, you need some help? Moving into our what we watching. This is my favorite segment, and guys, I have one for you today. So I haven't talked about a show in a fat minute, and I actually have been spanking out shows. I got a couple of really good shows, and I think for this one, I'm going to give you guys two things. So the first one is 4 Seasons, the remake. I know that 4 Seasons came out originally in, I think, like the 80s or something like that, and I didn't watch that. I did watch the remake with some very star-studded cast. very star-studded cast. This is when I tell you this show was so good, it reminds me a lot of an Insecure-esque type show with the seriousness and the raw feeling of it. And I think it was absolutely golden, like absolutely golden. This was such a good show. The subject matter is very tense, very fun. I will say if you're someone who's going through relationship problems, maybe not. I love getting to see actors aging. I don't think we talk about that enough. It is very nice getting to see people actually getting older and getting to continue their craft. It's very inspiring, very heartwarming. This group of actors did an amazing job with telling a story. They did such a phenomenal job with making you feel the depth of the emotions and kind of a little like tug of war in the way that you feel about certain things. It really teaches you a lot about vulnerability, about honesty, about hardship. Honestly, there's a very shocking twist in the middle of it and it threw me for a loop, and then the show kind of becomes consumed by it but not becomes consumed by it. And it's really good. So I would recommend that. And then my second show recommendation is called College Friends. College Friends is a show that has 2 seasons. An amazing show. This is a very Insecure-esque show. It just kind of talks about life after college and about when you have a group of friends who kind of, you grow up or you don't grow up, right? And then you start going through like real life situations that aren't what you find in kid real life. Like this is an actual serious thing, and it's people dealing with the consequences of their actions, people dealing with raw emotions, and there's really nothing ever left unsaid, which is kind of beautiful in this show. I think in both these shows, it's a very nice ode and head nod to honesty will truly take you so far, and sometimes your truth is just your truth. Those are the 2 things that I recommend you guys watch. If you guys ever want to know anything else I'm watching, you can find me on Letterboxd anytime. And with that being said, that is the end of today's episode. Thank you guys so much for listening. Thank you guys so much for watching with me. If you did like the episode, please be sure to rate it. If you were an audio listener, up above. If you're a viewer, please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. If you, like me, you want to see more of me, you can find me on my various social media platforms, as well as you can follow the production company at these labels below. And with all that being said, thank you guys so much for watching another episode of the Your Delusional podcast. The Your Delusional podcast is produced by LT Legacy Productions and hosted by LaTerra Wair.